So let's talk about what really went down. Prince Harry flew back to London, squeezed in a private meeting with King Charles, and the headlines won't stop spinning. But here's the thing. The story isn't just about a 55-minute tea session between father and son. Number. The real story is what wasn't said, who wasn't there, and how the entire event was engineered for optics. Because let's be blunt, this wasn't a reunion dripping with emotion. This wasn't forgiveness. This wasn't some long-awaited family healing moment. This was scheduling. This was a carefully polished PR exercise. And the strangest part, even though Meghan Markle wasn't in the car, wasn't in Clarence's house, wasn't even in the country, she still ended up owning the narrative. Somehow, she turned absence into presence. And that, my friends, is not an accident. But before we get to Meghan's invisible fingerprints all over this storyline, let's start with the so-called reunion. Harry hasn't seen his father face-to-face since the cancer announcement. Months of speculation, endless headlines, whispers of whether the king's condition was worse than the palace admitted. And when Harry finally makes the trip, he gets exactly 55 minutes. Not a day, not an afternoon, not even a proper meal. 55 minutes. That's not reconciliation. That's a calendar slot. Think about that. A father battling illness and his own son flying in from another continent, and all they can manage is less than an hour. If that doesn't scream business transaction vibes, I don't know what does. And you can almost picture Charles in that moment, sitting there, tea poured, letting Harry ramble before making it clear that time's up. Back to duty, back to Scotland. No dinner, no photographs, no warm farewell, just the polite equivalent of, "Good to see you, now don't let the door hit you on the way out." Now, you tell me, if this was truly about healing, wouldn't William have been there? Wouldn't Camilla at least have made a brief appearance? But no, it was just Charles, Harry, and the clock ticking down. Which brings me to the real question. Why? Why allow the meeting at all if it wasn't going to be meaningful? The answer, I think, lies in optics. Charles had to show the public that he wasn't shutting his son out completely. A quick tea meeting, a polite box ticked, and back to royal business. To the outside world, it looks like fatherly grace. Inside the palace, it was nothing more than management. And Harry? Well, Harry played along because he had no choice. He's desperate to look like he's still connected to the monarchy. Desperate to prove he hasn't been completely cast out. So even a 55-minute slot becomes headline material. But here's where it gets fascinating. While Harry was doing his routine in London, Meghan was busy playing her own game from across the ocean. And her move was brilliant. Manipulative, yes, but brilliant. She reposted a clip of Harry play fighting with a little girl, sword in hand, hearts floating on screen. Sweet, right? Harmless. Maybe at first glance. But the second it hit social media, speculation exploded. Was Meghan there? Was she the one behind the camera? Was she hiding somewhere in the background? Suddenly, people were convinced she was part of Harry's trip. And yet, she wasn't. That clip wasn't even hers. It had Hello Magazine's watermark on it. She didn't film it. She didn't attend. She didn't even set foot on British soil. But here's the genius. By reposting it, she inserted herself into the storyline anyway. Without ever stepping foot in the UK, she managed to shift the spotlight back onto herself. That's not coincidence. That's design. It's classic Meghan. Manipulate perception. Blur the truth. Let the public do the speculation while you sit back and benefit from the confusion. She didn't need to say a word. She didn't need to book a flight. She just pressed share, and suddenly she was part of the conversation again. And honestly, if she had been in London, Does anyone really believe she would have let Harry go alone? No chance. Meghan doesn't do background roles. She would have turned that Clarence House tea into a full-blown docu-series episode with moody lighting and dramatic music. That's her style, which is why her silence this time is so telling. It was calculated. She wanted people asking, "Where's Meghan?" Because when people were asking, she's still relevant. Meanwhile, let's not ignore the elephant in the room. William. Harry didn't see him, didn't speak to him, didn't even exchange a wave across a courtyard. Nothing. Zero. Nada. And that silence speaks louder than anything else. The brothers are fractured beyond repair, and William isn't even pretending anymore. He had every chance to make an appearance, to at least allow a photo op, and he flat out refused. That says it all, and Harry knows it. You can see the tension in every public moment. He's out there trying to smile for cameras, shuffling through charity events, but there's a stiffness, a nervousness. He's caught between two worlds and failing at both. He wants the Hollywood sparkle Meghan thrives on, but he also craves the Windsor dignity he abandoned. And the result? He doesn't fit anywhere. Even the little details give him away. Like when he was talking to a kid who mentioned having a brother at the same school. Harry instantly snapped back with bitterness, muttering about how that must drive the kid crazy. And the child just looked at him and said, "No, we're friends." Think about that. A child handles sibling rivalry better than a grown man who can't even be in the same room as his brother. It was awkward, it was revealing, and it showed just how deep Harry's unresolved baggage runs. But the biggest problem isn't William or even Charles, it's credibility. Harry has burned it. Every time he gives an interview, every time he writes another tell-all, every time he spills royal secrets to Oprah or Netflix, he chips away at the last bit of trust anyone had left. And now, when he sits down for tea with his father, the world isn't asking, "How touching?" They're asking, "What's he going to monetize from this?" And that's the tragedy. Even genuine moments now feel like rehearsals for the next media project. Because when you've turned private pain into public profit for years, no one believes you anymore. Meanwhile, Meghan continues to master the art of influence through absence. She doesn't need to show up. She just has to make you wonder. Her repost wasn't about Harry bonding with a child. It was about reclaiming narrative territory, about reminding the world, "Don't forget, he's still mine." And it worked. Gossip sites lit up. Comment sections went wild. People debated whether she was in the UK, whether she was behind the camera, whether this was some secret reconciliation. None of it was true, but none of it needed to be. Perception was the win. And that's what makes her so dangerous to the royal image. She knows how to play with shadows. She thrives in the uncertainty. Even when she's silent, she's center stage. Now, let's zoom back to Charles, because his handling of this meeting says everything about where the monarchy stands. There was no red carpet, no ceremonial welcome, no cozy dinner afterward, just a meeting behind closed doors and then straight back to business. It wasn't affection, it was permission. And when the hour was up, Charles left. No lingering, no warmth, just done. For a son who once stood second in line to the throne, that's a cold reality check. And yet, Harry will cling to it, because that's all he has left. A slim thread of connection, a symbolic gesture he can spin into proof he hasn't been fully cast out. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The monarchy has already moved on. William is focused on his role. Charles continues his duties. Camilla stays quiet. They've adapted to life without Harry and Meghan. They've adjusted to the noise. And they know that over time, public sympathy will tilt back their way. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan are locked in a cycle of drama they can't escape. One minute, they're crying privacy, the next, they're selling documentaries. One minute, Meghan vanishes, the next, she drops a calculated post that lights up the internet. It's exhausting, and the public is starting to tune out. Because here's the thing about attention. Outrage is loud, but boredom is deadly. And that's where Harry and Meghan are heading. People aren't shocked anymore. They're tired. And in the world of media, that's the kiss of death. So yes, Harry got his tea with Charles. Yes, it made headlines. But beneath the surface, nothing changed. No bridges rebuilt, no wounds healed, just a photo op without the photo. And Meghan? She wasn't there, but she still managed to steal the spotlight. It's the same old royal circus, just with new costumes. Harry trying to play two roles at once, Meghan pulling strings from afar, and Charles keeping the crown steady while the drama swirls around him. But at the end of the day, the cracks are still there. The dysfunction is still alive. And the so-called reconciliation? Nothing more than theatre. So, what do you think? Was Harry's trip really about his father? Or was it just another act in the never-ending royal soap opera? Drop your thoughts below. I read every single comment. And if you want more ruthless breakdowns like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the royal drama is far from over.